Hey everyone, and welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving straight into Aehr Test Systems' massive fourth quarter and full year 2026 earnings report to see exactly how they're powering the next wave of tech infrastructure. Look, if you've been tracking the absolute explosion of artificial intelligence, high-speed data centers, and electric vehicles, you already know the chips powering these revolutions have to be absolutely flawless. So today, we're unpacking the company providing the critical test and burn-in solutions to make sure that actually happens. Okay, let's kick things off with a number that literally jumps off the page. AHR just posted a record-breaking $60.7 million in quarterly bookings for their fiscal fourth quarter. To put that into perspective, bookings represent actual, hard commitments from customers. When a company that's doing around $50 million in annual revenue pulls in over $60 million in fresh orders in a single quarter, well, it tells us something foundational is shifting in their market demand. And, that massive influx of orders immediately feeds into an effective backlog that just crossed the $100 million mark, heading right into the new fiscal year. This isn't just a speculative maybe pipeline, right? Crossing that 100 million threshold provides concrete, locked-in visibility into their near-term future. It basically means their manufacturing lines are going to be incredibly busy fulfilling verified customer demand. And that backlog brilliantly illustrates exactly why management is projecting an explosive 160% to 200% year-over-year revenue growth for fiscal 2027. Based on those record orders and the anticipated demand from their existing programs, they're guiding for revenue to land somewhere between $130 million and $150 million. Scaling revenue by that magnitude in a single year in the hardware testing space is a massive undertaking. You literally have to be perfectly positioned in front of major secular megatrends to pull that off.
So it begs the question, right? How exactly is one single company strategically positioned to cash in on the AI, data center, and EV booms all at the exact same time? It's pretty fascinating. AMDR isn't making the AI processors or the electric vehicles themselves. Instead, they're providing the highly specialized infrastructure required to test and stress these components before they ever even make it into a server rack or car chassis.
Let's peel back the layers of this growth. Section 1. Record-breaking results and financial performance. The inflection point here is just undeniable. While fiscal 2026 revenue sat at a steady $50 million, which honestly was actually a slight dip from fiscal 2025's $58.9 million, the projection for fiscal 2027 represents a massive foundational step up in their business model. Expecting to land between $130 million and $150 million means their customers are aggressively moving from initial product evaluations into full-blown high-volume production.
And the momentum? It's already here. The fourth quarter alone brought in $18.8 million in net revenue, which shows a really powerful acceleration compared to the $14.1 million generated in the same quarter last year. Plus, they posted non-GAAP net income of $3.6 million for the quarter, proving that as this revenue scales up, they can absolutely drive real profitability right to the bottom line. Moving right along to Section 2, the AI processor boom and how it's driving demand. So the secret behind all this demand is actually a massive shift in testing methodology. A major customer is transitioning entirely away from traditional system-level burn-in over to AHR's wafer-level burn-in, or WLBI. Traditional system-level burn-in happens super late in the manufacturing process. It's incredibly inefficient if a chip fails after it's already been fully packaged. I mean, nobody wants a multi-$1,000 processor literally burning up in the lab, right? So instead of waiting to see if a fully packaged chip fails, semiconductor companies can now weed out the bad chips while they're still on the raw silicon wafer. It drastically improves reliability and slashes yield loss early on.
CEO Gain Erickson actually highlighted this exact industry shift in the earnings report. He noted that benchmark testing with a top-tier supplier of AI accelerators, CPUs, and network processors produced results that flat-out exceeded their expectations. And because of that, this top-tier supplier is now expressing interest in moving to pilot production test validation for a high-volume device that's expected to just keep ramping up for the next year or more. The potential revenue streams here for these proprietary WLBI systems are highly significant. And it doesn't stop there. Their package-level Sonoma systems are seeing absolutely massive demand. Aehr just received record follow-on production orders from a lead hyperscale data center provider. But here's the real kicker. This customer is forecasting substantial expansion for a second device that requires literally twice the power per package as their first device. As AI processors get faster, they get so much hotter and consume way more power. Aehr's ultra-high-power Sonoma systems are purpose-built to handle those exact extreme demands. Let's look at the next big tech driver, Section 3, Silicon Photonics and Data Center Demand. As AI data centers expand across the globe, they're running into a massive bottleneck, the sheer speed at which data can travel between servers. To solve this, new architectures are increasingly relying on silicon photonics for lightning-fast optical connections. Essentially, they're swapping out traditional copper wire highways for fiber optic bullet trains, using lasers and light. But integrating optical components onto silicon creates a huge need for rigorous production testing and stabilization, which is exactly where Aehr steps in.
And we're seeing the results of that right now. Aehr's lead silicon photonics customer is currently ramping up capacity with follow-on orders for fully automated WLBI systems. But perhaps even more exciting, a brand new major customer, described as a global networking leader, just provided forecasts for additional systems later this calendar year to support next-generation hyperscale data center deployments. Management is clearly seeing silicon photonics as a massive long-term growth driver.
But they aren't just relying on AI and data centers. Section 4, Silicon carbide EVs and revving up demand. Now, while the broader electric vehicle market has definitely seen some volatility recently, AHR is actually seeing a major recovery in silicon carbide power semiconductors. They just announced securing approximately $8 million in new orders for electric vehicle testing equipment in just the last month alone. Silicon carbide chips are absolutely essential for EV battery efficiency and range, and they simply must be stress tested for reliability before you put them into a car. And these recent wins aren't just from existing suppliers. Yes, they include expanded production from their lead silicon carbide customer, but they also include a crucial direct order from one of the world's largest automotive companies. This global giant is ordering multiple wafer packs to qualify silicon carbide devices from their own suppliers using Aehr systems. Getting a direct mandate like that from a top-tier automaker, that's a massive stamp of approval for Aehr's technology. So how do all of these distinct technological segments merge to form their financial roadmap? Let's check out Section 5, Fiscal 2027 Outlook and Aggressive Growth.
When you put it all together, you realize Aehr has successfully diversified its infrastructure reach into a highly resilient central backbone. They're no longer dependent on just one single customer or one single niche. By acting as the critical testing backbone across AI processors, silicon photonics, hyperscale data centers, EVs, and even solar power and computing, they've built a really resilient growth engine for the future. And they are exceptionally well-funded to execute on this $150 million revenue roadmap. Aehr finished fiscal 2026 with an absolute fortress of a balance sheet, holding $116.5 million in cash, cash equivalents, and restricted cash. That's a massive leap from the $37.1 million they held just a quarter earlier. It gives them the ultimate financial flexibility to scale operations, support that rapidly growing backlog we talked about, and invest in next-gen testing tech without breaking a sweat. Which leaves us with this final thought for today's explainer. As next-generation technologies, from highly complex AI accelerators to critical EV power systems, demand absolute perfection from their silicon, is the test and burn-in market the smartest hidden infrastructure play in tech right now? Because as long as companies are pushing the limits of physics with their chips, they're going to need a reliable way to prove those chips won't fail in the real world. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and keep your eyes on the foundation of the tech revolution.